Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Sleeping Warrior and Arwin. How are you both doing?
Hello.
Hello.
I was expecting.
Yes, we are live.
Riley to say hola. So.
I think he's gone to get a cup of coffee, actually.
Okay, but yeah, I'm doing good. Good afternoon. It's hot and moist here in the Netherlands.
Hot and moist. Two great words.
Yeah. It's a great time to go and look for some curvature.
Yep. Have you found
some
any?
Apparent curve on the horizon and some real curves on women.
Did you see Phuket Word's recent video about the horizon?
Sorry?
Did you see Phuket Word, Nick's most recent video about the horizon?
No.
Basically, he went outside when it was a very misty day and showed that his horizon was a couple of miles away. It's like, the horizon is purely based on the atmospheric conditions, i.e. how clear it is. That's all that the horizon basis is on. That's it. Nothing to do with 3 miles and presupposing curvature. It's just how good are the conditions. That's what puts your horizon where it is. Simple.
Right. So if things get fogged up enough, you'll get your curvature. Right.
I showed Anthony earlier today. There's 2 telecommunications masts that are within, I don't know, 1/4 of a mile and maybe a little bit more than 1/4 of a mile away from me. And when it was absolutely hammering it down with rain earlier, you could see the one, but you couldn't see the other. Well, this is nothing to do with Earth curve obscuring them. They're just not there because it's really poor weather. That's it.
Nah, fog fixes everything. You just have to fog up your mind and fog up the atmosphere, and you get your curves.
Can you hear us, Mark?
Mark.
Oh, maybe not.
Hang on. Hello, gentlemen. You okay?
Yeah, not bad. We do have you. Just a bit quiet. And Ranty as well. How you doing, Ranty?
All right, Ranty.
How do? You all right?
Yes.
Very well. No complaints. And any curvature?
No, not found any of that yet.
Bummer. Anybody presented any proof of R?
Oh no, we've not got proof of R, but Ruhif, I've had to block Ruhif on Skype because rather than trying to bend the light around the curve of the Earth, what Ruhif decided to do is manipulate the radius to make the Earth huge so that it flattens it out. So if you can't bend the light, Ruhif's decided to basically change the radius of the Earth and call it an apparent radius and justify it on the basis that maths. And I was like, are you serious?
There's a reason the R value is fixed. The reason is simple, because you have to have the equator at the middle of a ball for it to match their claimed celestial south point. Well, if you move the equator up by making the ball larger, how does he then account for the south celestial pole on his presupposed ball model? It's a farce.
All we could hear was Arwin breathing down the mic.
What?
Someone's breathing down the mic. I assumed it was you.
Could be Ranty.
He's always getting the blame, isn't he?
That's why he sighed.
Well, whoever it was, stop breathing down the mic.
No, it was probably.
Yeah, you can't change the R value in your presupposed globe model. It's there to match up with the observations of the stars. That's it.
You
So if
can't-
you suddenly
can't
move,
change R.
yeah, you
can't
can't
call
change
it an
R.
apparent radius. You can't justify it with maths. You can't. There's no science to justify an apparent radius. There is none. And if you've got some science, bring it. Let's see it. But there is no evidence. There is no science to justify a fluctuating radius. What do you think we live on? A bouncy ball?
See, according to Woz,
Well-
R doesn't matter. Yeah, R is what makes it spherical. It's a radius.
Right, but
if it doesn't
Ruith
matter,
is
then yeah,
actually
just accept
giving
that
up
it's
on
flat
the
Woz.
original radius, then maybe he's kind of sort of abandoning the heliocentric model. Just
I don't think
he's trying to
I don't
create-
think he
find
sees it
another
that
type
way.
of
He's
ball.
just stupid.
He's trying to create fog in a situation where there is no fog.
But does he still call it the regular ball, or is he entertaining a concept where the Earth may be a very big ball? Does he actually
No,
say that, or
What it is, he's seen the citation where in the Antarctic region, in the Antarcticas, you can see mountains from 300 miles away. Now, obviously, that's not meant to be the case if we live in a sphere. It's supposed to be well gone, like miles of curvature. But because of this 300 miles mountain thing, you've got to bend light an awful lot. And we know that light travels in straight lines, and there's no moisture for it to apply Snell's law through. So ultimately, it's like you're looking in a flat, straight line. So rather than admit and accept that the Earth must be flat because of it, he basically manipulates the size of the Earth to make it look flat. So you can't bend the light. There's no moisture. So make the radius massive.
Did you see
or
that?
maybe he's sorry.
Did you see that video on Antarctica going 300 miles?
Mm-mm.
Jeranism. It's Jeranism's latest video. It's very good.
I was about to say maybe he's trying to entertain the pear-shaped model, and if it's really chubby on the bottom, then Antarctica, the continent, is just on the flat side of the pear. Maybe he's thinking like that. That the curve, the real curve, the most noticeable curve is actually just beyond there in the oceans. It's very convenient.
I just posted something in the side chat. I think Nathan's showing it now. It's somebody responded to one of my videos saying that I can't understand how you're showing complete flat on your videos, and yet Wolfie is apparently showing curvature. And then he said, well, maybe it's to do with this, which is National Geographic's
Oh, the testicle.
testicle. Yeah, the testicle, which says that certain areas have more gravity and gravitational force than others. So perhaps we're seeing it because we have, what would you say, more gravity or less gravity?
Well, it would have to be less gravity, wouldn't it?
What, to make it flat?
Yeah.
Do you think that's their latest comeback for finding
I think
areas
it's
where it's
nonsense.
flat?
Gravity
What did
being an
Red- what
unscientific,
did Red
unproven
reflect?
theory, it means nothing.
What did red reflect on your thingy then?
Oh,
On
I
the
didn't-
testicle. On the
I didn't-
testicle you were showing, was the red referencing stronger gravity or was the red referencing weaker gravity?
I haven't really looked at it. I sent this to Nathan a couple of days ago, but I've not read it too much because it's all bollocks anyway.
True, but on the assumption, let's just apply their model. So go back up to the picture. Because it would appear that red would normally be the strongest and blue would generally be the weakest. And if that would be the case, then you would expect to see more curves. Pardon?
How do? Who was that? Spurs.
That's
Good
Spurs
to have you.
Chemo.
Hey Spurs. Shout out to
I
Earth
had,
Seriously Flat. Thanks for the super chat.
I had a weird experience today at going down to the beach at high tide. So I was filming across at Barrow from high tide, obviously, and it was a fairly settled tide, I would say. It wasn't really chomping at the bit sort of thing. So I was able to get around about 3 feet above the water. So I'm lying down on this step and I'm filming across at Barrow. And then I noticed this boat. So I started filming on that and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to follow this boat. And then all of a sudden, I kid you not, for about 2 minutes, the tide changed. I mean, literally, it just turned into like a crazy sea. It just went everywhere. I mean, I got drenched. The P900 got slammed. I had to run away from it literally about 8 steps up the side. And for whatever reason, I thought to myself, well, that was kind of weird. It doesn't want me filming this boat. And I actually say that on the video. And then I think, well, you know what, actually, sod it. So I looked across at Barrow again, and suddenly everything was in view. I shit you not.
At high tide?
At high tide, yeah. It was the weirdest thing. I mean, I'm not saying that it was like aliens or something, but it was so.
But it was aliens.
Yeah, whatever went on, whatever happened at that minute, suddenly whatever happened with the tide or something seemed to change everything, and the view just became crystal clear.
Maybe had a mini tsunami.
Yeah, it wasn't a tsunami. I mean, it was just that the tide, the waves that were crashing up against the steps suddenly increased in height by probably about 6 or 7 feet, from being relatively calm to just being sort of like torrential against the steps. And it only lasted for about 2 minutes, and it settled down again. I've got it all on video.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it
Maybe
is.
some sudden heavily increased magnetic activity. I think that has something to do with the waves.
I'll show you the video in a minute when I've finished putting it on my PC.
Was it the afterwash of a boat going past?
No, there was nothing. Honestly, there was nothing there at all.
Because that can travel quite far, can't it?
But it happened. Well, it wasn't just one wave. It was a series of waves. It was probably about, I don't know, 20 different smashing waves from nothing, from being very calm. And when it was calm, I didn't see very well. I could still see. And then all of a sudden it just all cleared up, and it was just bam. It was just there.
Have you had a chance to upload the photographs for us to see?
No, I've only just walked in, 10 minutes ago, and I've just started to put it on my PC. It says it should be ready in 6 minutes, so we'll see.
Good man.
Whilst we've now got 100 people watching, does anybody want to see some literal deceit and dishonesty on the part of a baller?
Another one.
Yeah.
I'll be.
Yeah,
Never seen that before.
Yeah, man. Let's hear it. Another shout out to Earth is Seriously That. Thanks again for the super chat. Thanks again for the super chat. If I could speak English.
We've got another baller that's claiming to have found the curve, and I only found out about it literally an hour or two ago, and I hadn't heard from him for a while. Somebody had asked me what's happened to Miles the Liar Davis, and I was like, I don't know, I haven't heard from him for ages. So I went on his channel, had a look. He hasn't put any videos out for 3 months, and I was like, ooh, perhaps he's dropped off because he's a faceless warrior. Well, maybe he's one of them people that is able to disappear just because nobody knows really who he is. So whatever's happened, Miles doesn't appear to be around very much. Maybe he is, I don't know, but he hasn't put anything out for a while. So that's what I do know, and it's been 3 months. So that's good in itself, but it made me consider Al K, because I've not heard him for a while either. I've not seen him in chat, not seen anything from him. So I thought I'll just go, whilst I'm checking on Miles's thing, I'll check on Al K, and I'll see whether he's still doing anything, because I've not seen him for ages. And he's done a video in the last couple of days, and it's, to be honest, it's aimed at Dell, beyond the imaginary curve, about a particular mountain that he's observed near to where he lives, I guess. But he's claimed that it's a ball earth proof, and his statement at the beginning of the video is that he's demonstrating curvature. So what I'll do, Nath, if you don't mind, I'd like to share my screen. And I want everyone to pay attention to this Yahoo, because I mean, we met Al K in real world, and he was all right. He was just a normal kind of guy. Didn't find him to be unnecessarily horrible or whatever. We bought him dinner. We sat down. We spent a bit of time with him. And, there wasn't anything remarkable about him. He was just a guy. But he's dropped off the scene a little bit because I've not heard from him for a while, which is, people come and go. That's fine. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen and I'll show. I'll show. Right, when you're ready, Nath.
Yep, you're on.
Right, so this is his video, right? He makes 3 claims. 1, he's demonstrating curvature. And I'm like, really? This is going to be interesting. 2 confirming his previous results. I'm not sure what they are, and 3 debunking a false claim. And I think the false claim that he claims he's debunking is Dell, and I'm not sure what the issue is, but it's something to do with this mounting, and it's something to do with the interpretation of the evidence. But I'm not really too sure about what's gone on, but I could tell by the video that he's up in a place called Largs, and he's looking across the bay down to a particular mountain, and the mountain is called oh, Nathan, you remember what it's got? Something Elsa or something like that it is. So I found where his little ramp is. He's at this Lagos RNLI, and he's looking out the thing. And if I pull up my Google Earth now, he's looking at
Craig.
this.
It says in the title.
Pardon?
It says in the title.
Yeah, there we go. Ailsa Craig, right? And when you look up what Ailsa Craig looks like, it's this random looking rock on its own. It's pretty tall. It's 1,100 feet tall. And if I can get to the Google thing quickly. Oops. Let's go to that. Oh, come on, give me what I want. There, it's there. So AILSA Craig. Now, what's interesting about this is if you type, oh, right, there it is. Ailsa Craig height. It rises to a height of 1,120 feet. And if you look at 1,120 feet, that's going to be the peak. Okay. So you can deduce common sense that half of it is going to be half of 1,100. So it's going to be about 550, a little bit above. So we've got 550 in the middle, and then we've got 0, which would be the sea level. But we know that the peak of it is 1,100 feet, right? That's the first thing to observe. So what you can do is he's picking on this lighthouse down in the bottom corner, and his claim is that you can't see the lighthouse from this distance away, which is where he's at, which is Largs Lifeboat Station. So when I zoom in, this is the jetty that he's on, and he's basically down like Ranty was, foot off the water kind of thing. So there's the lifeboat station, there's the ramp. He's sat basically wherever the tide is, he's sat here. So he's about a foot off the water, maybe 2, but no more than 2. But that's where he's at. And when you look up, you can see that this thing is miles away. It's absolutely miles away. And on my screen now, you can see my little ruler that's already been put in. It's 39.14 miles. So I thought 39 miles, and you're expecting to see a lighthouse that's got a focal height of about 80 feet. Thought that's going to be a dot. You're never going to see it. It's going to be so far away. It's so small. They would say it's behind the curve. I would say it's too small to be seen because perspective, the further summit goes away from you, the smaller it becomes. But nonetheless, this number intrigued me because 39 is greater than the 34 that I've seen the Isle of Man pictures from, and further than the Mackle Lighthouse. That was 31. But he's trying to see a lighthouse 39 miles away that's half the size of Mackle. So I'm thinking he's never going to see that. Not even on a perfect conditions day, he's never going to see it. It's too small. Not because of the curve, but it's gone too small. It is literally too small. So 39 miles, that's the distance he's looking at, and he's about a foot off the water. So then if I go to the curve calcs and I look at the curve calcs, because he's claiming that it's curved, right? Metaflunk. So I'll go with the Metabunk one because this is what he's doing. So the mileage was, what was it, 39? And then the viewer height in feet would be 2. So it should have a geometric curve hidden of 926. But the drop itself is greater than the height of the mountain. But even with refraction, you're only going to bring back like 350 feet. So when we go back to the original picture that I had on Google Earth, how much are we bringing back? Because the height of it is 1,000 and just over 1,000 feet, 1,100 feet. But according to the curve, it should be nearly 800 feet gone. So we're looking at the mountain that he's got in the video. Most of it should be gone. And when you look on Google Earth, this is how it's presented at sea level. So the question becomes, well, if that's 1,100 feet and the sea level is here, we appear to be seeing virtually all of it. But according to the geometric shape of the Earth, it should virtually be gone because the drop value is the size of the mountain and it should be hidden by 626 feet. So where's the claim on his video that it's actually curvature that he's seeing? Because in his video, he claims, I think I might have lost it, claims that he's seeing the curvature. So then the question becomes, well, why are you calling this a curvature proof when it's flat as a pancake? Why are you not? You're claiming that this is curve. Where is? Oh, I've lost it now. There it is. So he's demonstrating curvature, but I'm not seeing curve. I'm seeing a whole mountain that should have gone behind the curve. And if you're claiming to be demonstrating the curvature, surely your claim would be talking about the top part that's like the tippy tops that's peeking over the hill because that's the curve. But you're on about a lighthouse that you can't see, and there's a layer of mist across the horizon that you can't see through, and you're claiming that that's the curve of the Earth. No, that's not normal. That's not even honest. This is the actual video. This is what he claims. He thinks that this, if you look along the horizon, there's like a white layer of mist. And as I play the video, he's claiming that we can't see the flashing lighthouse because of the curve of the Earth. Well, if it was the curve of the Earth that was causing us not to see the lighthouse, we should only see this bit up here, the tippy tops of it, because it's 1,000 feet tall and it's 1,000 feet behind the curve. So this bit here that you're looking at the top should be right on the horizon, and the lighthouse should be down here somewhere because it's like 600-700 feet behind the curve. So he's picking on the lighthouse that you can't see because of the mist, the layer of mist. But he's missing out the fact that the whole island should be missing. We should only see the tippy tops of it.
Have you discussed this with him?
Pardon?
Have you discussed this with him?
No, there's no talking to him. He's totally indoctrinated. See, this is what we're left with. This is what he claims is supposed to be a curvature claim, but that's what it should look like.
So we could use that for proving flat Earth, couldn't we?
Yeah,
Brilliant
absolutely.
proof.
He's claiming that we can't see the lighthouse because of the so-called curvature of the Earth. Well, if it was the so-called curvature of the Earth, it would be varying up here. That's what we should be missing out, because this last bit. But to argue about the lighthouse down here, it's clearly evidence of flat. But the question is, why can't we see it? And there's a layer of mist along the horizon there, which is going to obscure what you see, putting more density there because it's condensing air from the warm day that's dropping down and it sits on the horizon. I've seen it loads of times. It's the condensing of the air in the atmosphere, and it sits there. For some reason, it doesn't make it into the water. You'd expect with gravity, it'd pull it into the water and it'd be like amalgamate it back into the water, but for whatever reason, it doesn't. But he's arguing about a little lighthouse that's 80 feet tall and claiming that this is the effects of curvature. But he's missing out the fact that the whole mountain should be missing behind 1,000 feet worth of drop. Why would somebody on the ball side claim that they're demonstrating curvature of the Earth and then fail to show any curve calcs in the video? He didn't show his altitude at other points in the video where altitude became important, and didn't show how far away this was. I had to look it up myself. I think he actually cited it at 33 miles in the video. I might be wrong, don't quote me on it, but he's not telling people that the whole thing should be behind the curve, apart from the tippy tops of it. And the question becomes, why is he focusing on the lighthouse, which is only 70 feet tall, when he should be telling people that this whole thing should be missing? So is that honest? Is that genuine reporting of facts? Or is it being selective with the facts and arguing that the lighthouse can't be seen because of the layer of mist, but he's going to call it curvature? So that's obstruction. That is the obstruction, this layer of mist. That's why you can't see it. But he's not telling everybody that the whole thing should be missing. Why would someone do that? Answers on a postcard, please. What do you think, guys?
We should be worried. He's really cracked it, hasn't he?
I think it's a good example of how obviously and observably flat the plane we live on is.
Yes,
I think it's a good example. I think it's more a good example of how dishonest ballers can be by not telling you that none of that mountain should be seen apart from the tippy tops of it. Can you imagine if I didn't do that, and if that was me reported on that video? Do you think that anybody would just say, "Oh, he hasn't told everybody, but he's a good lad"? No, I'd get hung, drawn, and quartered. So why should it not be any different for him? So the question becomes, let me just go back to my screen share a sec, Nath. I want to go back to it a sec. The question becomes, how are all these people in the chat, in his comments, going to react? Because we've got Jed Skeptic Media. Nice video, mate. Well done. I denounce him because he hasn't told you about the whole nature of the mountain that's missing. Tom Dick, whoever he is. Sue Lynch, seen you before. Are you going to denounce him? Woodsy, are you going to denounce him? Blue Marble Guy, what about you? All these people have been deceived because he hasn't told them that it's so far away that the whole thing should be missing. Rock Lover, Poseidon, Philip. Look at Philip. Remember that really nice physicist guy? Wow, fantastic. What a great comparison. It shows how the other images show textbook inferior mirages. Yeah, what about that whole missing mountain though, Phil? Did you not fact check first and just make sure that he was telling things the way they should be? Or did you just accept it because you know, what was the criticism that Ruhif gave us? He said that flat earthers are the excuse for the complete failure to critically think about things, and we have a physicist that just accepts it straight away. So them words that Ruhif said, that flat earthers can't critically think. Look at all these idiots that are all in this chat right now, all patting him on the back, saying how good it is. Yet the whole mountain should be missing. Why is that? It's ridiculous. It's dishonest, and it shouldn't even be on. So obviously, I've given it a thumbs down. So if everybody in chat now thinks that this is dishonest, go over and give him a thumbs down so he can see it, so he doesn't realize, so he realizes that what he's done's naughty. He's lying, he's dishonest, and he's cherry picking truths that aren't even truths anyway.
What does he call himself?
Al-K. AL space K. But you have to put flat earth in it, otherwise I don't think you find him very easily.
ALK.
AL space K and then flat earth.
Let's be grateful. Okay. Sending traffic your way.
To be honest, I think that most of the ballers have just completely given up to get really factual, even really trying to prove that the Earth is a ball. And they're just basically convoluting. They're just throwing as much fake videos like, oh yeah, see, everything is alright, it's a ball after all. And they don't get things right, but that's not the objective anymore. It's just to spam. Just to spam videos out there to get people's attention off flat Earth facts.
Let me just interrupt. Sorry, Arwin. Archaeopter X says, Sleeping Warrior, play the video at 310, you deceiver. Okay, let's do that. Nath, let me just share screens again, please, for 1 minute so I can respond to this. So we have...
so we have another video of people...
So Archaeopter says, play the video at 310, you deceiver. Okay, so let's do that. So make that big. Now, as you can see, I'm at 311. Let's make it down to bang on 310 so that I can't be accused of doing it. Right, so at 310 we get blur, right? So 310 is not a great number. Let's go with that one. 310, right. What do we see in this image? We see a mountain, and we see a black line, a thick black line that runs across the top of the apparent horizon, okay? And that thick black line just so happens to be the amount that's missing in his video that he claims that is the curvature of the Earth, for the missing lighthouse. Now, this black line isn't the curvature of the Earth. This black line is something else. But if you want me to address 3 minutes, 10 seconds, this is how I'm dealing with it. That lighthouse will be in the pixels that black line is blocking, and it's the same line that we saw at the Isle of Man, that little layer of bendy light refraction stuff, whatever's going on at the horizon, the dirty air, the inversion, the upside down, the obstruction formerly known as curvature. That's what we're seeing at this point. Now, he's claiming that that's the curve. Now, if it is the curve, it should be right up here at the top, because the whole mountain should be missing. So I don't care about the horizon. That's moot in this video. His claim is that the lighthouse reflects curvature. That's what his claim is. No, the curvature would be up here somewhere, and the whole mountain should be missing, because that's what he says in his claim at the beginning. He says that he's demonstrating the curvature, confirms his previous results, whatever they were, debunking a false claim, okay. But if he was demonstrating curvature, he would be talking about this bit up here, and the whole lot would be sat on the horizon, and there would be a dot, and that would be the curve of the Earth according to the geometric size of the Earth that they tell us. Again, he can't understand scale. He's a bit like Dawn Treader. Dawn Treader doesn't understand that the horizon's flat, therefore there's no x-axis curvature, and he thinks it's tiny, you can't see it. Yeah, okay, I can understand that, but ultimately there's a scale involved here. If you think sound is showing a curve of the Earth at 16 miles, 17 miles, then we should be seeing loads of curve here at nearly 40 miles. Where's the curve? There is no curve. The mountain is not sat below the curve. It should all be gone.
Good stuff.
Is the link public now, Nick?
Yep.
Eventually, we won't even have to go out anymore. Hey, who's that? Bilu? Eventually, you won't even have to go out anymore. The ballers are going to just desperately do our work for us and then just spam nonsense over it.
This is Timothy.
Like we've had the whole panel sniped. Marvellous stuff. There will be a short interlude. So the link is now published. Anybody's in Masturbators. I don't know if you want to rejoin on Google, Mark.
God, that was probably Tim.
Link is in Masturbators. Or Masterbeers, it's now been renamed.
Did you put a new link up, did you?
Yeah, I've got it. I'm in.
Yeah, it's out in Skype.
Good man, thank you.
Yeah, Tim is a bit upset at the moment because he's trying to have two lines of thought. He wants to think that the Boston bombings were, you know, a hoax and everything else is normal.
Earth is seriously flat. Thanks for the super chat. You carry on, Spurs. Hey, Nummy.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it might be him, it might not be him, but he's a little disgruntled this morning because he's confused a lot of people out there claiming to be a truther, trying to get the borders on side by saying, look, guys, this hoax, this bombing, this Boston bombings was a hoax, but everything else is fine. But that's not what I wanted to speak about. I've been discussing something, and I've never had this feeling. Well, the last time I had this feeling was actually when I came into Flat Earth, when I was asked, the Earth is the Earth flat? Is it a ball? And I was like, oh, of course it's a ball and whatnot. They were like, well, show me a picture, find me a picture, and I was confident within 2 to 5 minutes I would find a real picture of Earth, and the argument would be over. So we've been discussing something similar, Polaris, and its location. Obviously we understand that the Polaris star is in the north, so it should be identified, anywhere from the north is what I understand. But there seems to be an issue with locating this star in Russia. It seems that this star cannot be found in Russia anywhere. I'm not saying that it can't be found, but it seems, up to this date and to this point, people have, looked for this star. They've searched for this star. If I'm going to show my screen, I'm going to show.
Really?
Yeah, you're up.
Couple of shots. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the Russian version of Discovery Channel or something of that nature. This is called Astro Channel. And the title is called "Where is Polaris Star?" Yeah, so they take out the professionals, they get the professional cameras out, do the whole build up as you would expect on Discovery Channel. So we'll just play this short few seconds here. So you think they would show us something significant now, and they jump straight to the planetarium. I find that very bizarre. So throughout the whole video now we're looking at CGI images, and they show one image of where the Polaris is supposed to be, but it's a still, and obviously it's not confirmed it's from that location. But the point is that we're not getting a real image of Polaris from the north in Russia, namely. So that seems to be a problem. So I was sent another video. I was asking around. I was like, "This can't be. This. How can this be? Somebody must have a video of Polaris." So somebody sent me a video, and the title is called "North Star in the Sky." So he sent this video, and I was like, "Well, okay, this could be Polaris." And then I read the comments down below. There's only one comment. If it will load for us now. I don't know if it will load. Slow internet. So just wait for the comment to load. It's not loading. Let me refresh. Let's try that again. Oh, it's just find the video. One sec. So the comment basically in this video, it says it's not Polaris. It's saying that it's Venus. So we've got amateurs and professionals looking for this Polaris star and saying they can't locate it. So I was just wondering, of course, people are going to be outraged by that and say, well, of course we can see Polaris from Russia. So hopefully, somebody will, post a video. They will contact whoever's necessary and say, look, this is Polaris. So yeah, if Polaris can't be located from Russia, well, that would mean either Russia is not where they tell us, or Polaris is not in the at the center. So
is that picture supposed to be of Polaris next to the moon?
Yeah. So the guy that posted the video,
it's not likely.
Polaris is never that bright.
Can you make it full screen?
It's not full night yet, so.
No, this is Venus.
Can you make it full screen, Spurs?
Yes, yeah, quite likely, but Venus.
Can you make it full screen?
He's titled the video. Where is it here? The Polaris Star. And,
can you make it full screen, Spurs?
You obviously got it wrong.
Say again, Nathan.
Can you make it full screen?
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're not trying to tell me that a baller has made a video based on something that's not true, are you?
No, he's not a baller.
I think you just got it wrong.
He's just a general guy. He just saw a bright star and he said, "Oh well, look, that's Polaris. That's Polaris." So it seems the people in Russia, they cannot locate Polaris. So it's just, I mean, I suppose you should be able to see it because it's in the north. I don't see why you shouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah, of course they should see it.
Interesting thing to investigate.
But all I've seen so far is CGI. I've seen composites again, and this, and a lot of the boards are saying, well, it can be seen. It can be seen. We see it, and I'm yet to see a video of this quality showing Polaris. So we'll put that out there.
Well, to be honest, I only ever see Polaris as a dim star. They describe it on YouTube, on Wikipedia as one of the brightest stars. That's not my experience. I see it as quite. I have to really look for it, even though I know where it is. If someone points north, you can't see Polaris very easily. It's quite dark. It's quite a dull star, but it's described as one of the brighter ones.
Maybe it's disappearing.
God, why isn't Nummy jumping all over you? It's just a relative term.
Where?
It's just a relative term. Bright compared to what?
The other stars?
Yeah, the other stars. They're all about the same brightness in my experience in the north when I'm looking for Polaris. That's why they don't stand out. You have to literally look for north.
And what do you have in the south that they say is very close to the south celestial point? Do you have a really bright star?
The closest reference that they all reference is the Southern Crux, but it's at 60 degrees. It's not.
But there's
really
a particular there's another star that's particularly close to the central rotation point, which you've contacted various different observatories about.
Sigma Australis.
Right.
Okay, sorry. So I've just found the comment. I had I just wanted to show the comment from a user, and he points out immediately. He says this is not Polaris. This is Venus.
How do you know?
This is not a very good video reference. It's obviously just some guy that making a statement and he got it wrong.
Owen, this is nothing to do with nothing. What happened was I was discussing with David from Texas, Dallas, Texas, and he was asking the question about if you would be able to travel from Alaska to Russia. was making it very interesting, and he was saying, "Oh, he was asking me, saying, Chemo, you know people in Russia. Can you ask them to find, Polaris in Russia?" And I was like, "Well, sure, of course you can see it. Just give me 5 minutes, David." This was 3 days ago. I still haven't found, an image of Polaris from Russia. David was saying anywhere in Russia, doesn't matter, just find me Polaris from Russia. So, and I kind of agree now, because I've searched, I've scoured.
I just found one. I dropped it in the side chat. Want to look at it?
And
Claims
then
to
we
be
can
from
just
Russia.
pop his up quick, and then we can get to Ranty, who's itching to present something.
Yeah, that's me doing, really. That's just me putting it out there. If we can get similar to this footage, what we have here, from the ground up, Polaris, and job done, I think that will settle it.
Okay, from the ground up. Yeah, because I found a clip, but
What would it settle though?
But what I wanted to ask Arwin and co, what would be the implications if Polaris is not in the north, or if Russia couldn't locate?
Well,
And the
in
implication.
my direct opinion, it could mean that, well, seeming the stars being like holographic phenomena or something in that
It's
direction.
conjecture,
Maybe
isn't
the direct location also has an effect, in the sense that in different regions there may be different type of brightnesses or manifestations of certain stars that are different to other locations. It may, yeah, if it is magnetic related to the content of the Earth, and maybe for some reason Polaris is just not visible in Russia, and
No, but
maybe
I mean,
other
that
regions have other stars that aren't visible there.
No, but that would be ridiculous, right? I mean, it's in the north.
Why?
So
Why would it be ridiculous?
No. And I'm just saying in general, what I'm saying has to be ridiculous. Of course, it can be located in Russia, right? As far as we know so far.
Only if you assume that it is universal, that the star heavens is always exactly the same everywhere. But since they are intangible objects, they seem to be. We can't really find proof that they are physical objects in literal locations. Then maybe they have a direct relation to the Earth you're standing on when you're looking at them, which could cause variations in their manifestation depending on the region you're in. So,
well, I bet you that they can see the North Star in Russia.
I'm sure they can as well, but it's been 3 days. I've been trying to find. I've asked over there, and so hopefully someone from Russia here has connected, or somebody's in Russia. They'll look tonight. They'll say, "Well, of course we can see it. It's right there. Here's the video. Post it up."
I have a very close friend from Moscow who's actually a flat earther, so I could ask him. I'm sure he would know.
cool.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
Russian vids. Let's get him. on it.
Russian
No,
Vince
it's
isn't
not, it's not
Russian.
a guy who's from YouTube. It's a guy I know in locally. But he's he grew up in Moscow, and
It just gave me that feeling though of when I first got into Flat Earth, when they said, "Well, just provide a picture," and I was just like, "Oh, of course, give me 2 minutes. Here will be, a real picture of Earth." And it's the same thing now. I'm being asked to find a real picture or footage of Polaris from Moscow, and I was the same. I was like, "Of course we can find it. That's not a problem." And he was like, "Well, find it." I go, "Show us." And I posted this, and almost became a laughing stock, because this is Venus. This is not Polaris. So hopefully, somebody in Russia will, find Polaris from Russia, location, all the necessary things to prove that they're in Russia, that they're looking at Polaris, and so on and so forth.
It'd be interesting to see whether they're looking at the Polaris. Either say we're at whatever elevation that they're at, like further up the ball. See if it's consistent with where we see it in England relative to our distance further up the ball.
Yeah, you've laid it out there. Good on your Spurs. Hopefully it'll come to something. I've got you presented, Ranty.
The last thing I want is, just the ballers jumping on the fence, posting CGI star trails and saying, "Look, there's your shot." You just got to take a camera, look up at the sky, and shoot Polaris. Okay, yeah.
I wrote my friend a message asking him already.
But I do want to get into the implications if it cannot be seen in the north. What does that mean? I mean, I'm sure you know, some of you guys can consider that idea.
Cool. Hopefully we'll come back to it.
Let Ranty show.
Go ahead, Ranty.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure. So I gave you a little inclination of what I'd done today and how I got wet at the high tide. So I'm just going to show you where I actually was. I was on these steps here that go down, and actually the water where it is right now is pretty accurate to where I was. And I was lying across the steps and filming across at Barrow. I've put a little place mark here, which is normally where I've been doing my footage down on the beach, so right next to the water when it's at low tide. So I thought I'd go today and see if I could capture it at high tide too. So essentially what we're looking at is these buildings over here. These particular buildings here. Now I'm going to show you what they look like, and the distance to these is 18.3 miles. I'll just show you the properties of that line measure, 18.3 miles, if you can see that.
Yep.
Okay, so it's 18.3 miles to this building.
Which is the same distance as Soundly, guys. Remember all that curve that he showed in Pontchartrain?
Well, this is the building here. It's called the Devonshire Dock Hall, and its height, its actual height is 167 feet. It's the fourth largest building in Barrow, in fairness, and it's got design features such as, let's see, hopefully see it like this. Right, so now we know what it looks like. I'm going to show you where it is in relation to the water. So there's the building itself, and there's the water. It actually builds these submarines and such. So it's pretty much on the water. So it's 167 feet tall. And Metabunk's curve calcs say that from a distance of 3 feet in elevation, distance 18.3 miles, hidden should be 174 feet, right? So essentially, we shouldn't see any of this building whatsoever. Now, I'm going to show you the video, which is down here. Now, I did explain that I got pretty wet. The tide was actually, it was all right, actually. I mean, the tide, I'll show you. I'm following this boat. I'm zooming back out now, and I'm just going to mute it, actually, because it's a bit loud for me. And yeah, you can just see where it's just the waves are just lapping up against these steps. These steps are about 5 inches high. So I've been lying across these steps, and I'm looking over at Barrow. And something weird happens in a minute. You'll just see I jump up, and because I get drenched, I run up the steps. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And then you see that I mean, it really does change pretty nasty. It becomes pretty nasty, and these waves come really high in a minute. I thought, I mean, that's where I was lying. I was lying across those steps there where this water came in, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? So I thought, right, okay, let's have a look. See all this? Let's have a look at Barrow now. Let's go and have a nosy. So I look across. Here we are, zooming in. Now, these are the buildings that we shouldn't see any of. These white ones, not this building, this is a separate building. But these are the buildings, for instance, that we shouldn't see any of. But look at how clear it is. Absolutely sensational, seeing everything. Now, I've just showed you where those buildings are. They're right on the waterline, 167 feet tall. Curve calcs say that I shouldn't see any of it. I then decide to go a little bit lower again.
What's interesting here, Ranty, if you don't mind me interrupting a sec, is that sure. The conditions are obviously significantly different from the sunny day that you went last to on it last time. So the pressure and the density and the temperature, they're all going to be different, right? But we're seeing essentially the same image. We're not seeing bendy light affected at all. We're only seeing what we're looking at being obscured a little bit of diffused light. That's the better way to describe it, diffused light. So where's the manipulation in the bendy light that's bending around the curve? Because if it was bending around the curve the way they describe, you would expect half of that building to be missing, half of the mast to be missing, and you would expect a variation on what we're looking at. But we're not seeing a variation. It's still there. The only difference is the visibility is less, right?
Yeah, and what's here, blocking the tide from actually enveloping all this is Barrow's sea wall. Now I can show you that on and it's their sea wall. It's basically an area of sand dunes here. Now, the height of these sand dunes is around about 9 meters in a direct line of sight to this, but it's only about 14 miles to this particular peninsula, which means that in a direct line of sight on a flat plane, it should be obscuring 40 feet of the bottom of this building by the time we get to it. So we should never see the bottom 40 feet of this anyway, simply because of this sort of like sand dune sea wall that's in the way. So no matter what we do, we would never, ever, ever be able to see over this sand dune and see the bottom of the buildings, right? So 40 feet of the bottom of the building should be missing anyway. So I'll show you back to the video, which is here. So these are the buildings here. There's the sand dune at the bottom. You can just make it out. There's the little hump on the sand dune. And I do have some still images as well. I go a little bit lower as well. I walk further down just to get right next, because I want to try and see the lighthouse. And I pan across. Can you see how it's cleared up though? Oh, the image is cleared up, and I will pan across in a minute and I'll get to the lighthouse, because there was a post that was in the way when I jumped up out of the water before. I think I'll do it in a minute. I think I'll go down the steps even further. Zooming in there, there we go, there's the lighthouse, because that post was in the way. Just a step or two up, and I wasn't able to see that. And there's the lighthouse that we should never see as well. That should all be gone behind the curve. So high tide, low tide, further away, it doesn't make any difference. We're still seeing, I mean, look at this. How cool is that? These buildings, you shouldn't see any of them. Shouldn't see the bottom 40 feet anyway. They're only 167 feet tall. So you should only see the 120 feet at the top of it. And all of it should be beyond the curve. But actually, you know, that's just the way it is. And that's what I've got. That's what I've got today.
Awesome. Doesn't matter what conditions it is. You know, these guys that want to claim slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena conditions have brought back this stuff. Well, doesn't seem to matter what the tide's doing. It doesn't seem to matter what the weather conditions are. If you can see it, you can see it. It's never elevated. It's never above the horizon, as you might expect if we had looming going on. It'd be in various different positions depending on how much looming the atmosphere was causing. In reality, it's always in the same position, never changes. It's just there, across the way on the flat plane. Simple.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty nice image, actually, just then. How many is that?
Sorry.
What is it? 6541. So this was the next image, a still shot that I took. I open this up in paint.net. I'll just do some adjustments on it just to show you what we're actually seeing. Brightness and contrast. So yeah, so there's these buildings here. There's the buildings. All flat as a pancake. None of this should be seen. And we'd never see the bottoms of it anyway because of that sand dune that's in the way here. And you can actually see the sand dune. So there we go. More flat proofs.
Nice.
Awesome, Ranty. Thank you very much for that.
No worries.
Any other points on the docket? Got about 5 minutes left before I round out, then there'll be a short break, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we'll start again with the second half.
Yes, please. Show my screen, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. Shout out to Taboo Conspiracy. Basically, this guy is just a gift that keeps giving. And what he's got is a telescope, and he's looking across. I think it's the south of Italy. Might be wrong. Yeah, it's in the shoe of Italy. So the south coast of Italy, in the cove. And he's got a telescope, and he's looking across the gap in the bay, and he's looking at the distance of 16 miles, which coincidentally just happens to be a mile short of Ranty's observation and a mile short of Soundly's observation. So we've got Ranty now showing. What was yours, Ranty? Was it 18?
18.3.
And I think Soundly's.
I've actually gone further. I've got other proofs. I went further yesterday.
Yeah, it's okay. Hang on. I just want to. The reason why this is important is it's in the same bracket in the distance that Soundly's got, because I think his was I might be wrong, but I think it's 17.2 or something like that. They're all about 17, 18 miles. But his is 16.3 miles. So it's a very convenient distance thing, right? So if we're supposed to be living on a ball and Ranty's got the flatness, but Soundly's got the bendiness, then a third observer doing a similar distance should get what the truth is, because we shouldn't be able to get such disparity between two observations because you're 50-50, right? But what Taboo's done on this video is he's got this telescope and he's looking at a distance of 16.3 miles, 26 kilometers, and he's looking at that particular phallus or the lighthouse, and it's right on the coast almost. And when he goes into Google Earth, or whatever it is, he finds out what the focal height of it is, and the focal height is 46 meters above the sea level, right? I believe that's the height of the light. So he translates it in a sec to the light height above the actual sea level. So 46 meters. He converts it into feet, I'm sure, in a sec. So it's 151 feet, which is the focal height for the bulb, and that's above the water. So from the water up to the bulb in the house. Do you remember we did all this with Mackle Lighthouse? The focal height is from the water to the bulb, right? So it's supposed to be 151 feet. So he gets his telescope. Oh no, he goes to the curve calcs. Now he's clever. He's not sucked in by this refraction nonsense, and this is what we should do really, because the refraction is presuppositional based on the idea that 7.6 light curves. Light doesn't curve. Light travels in straight lines. You're presupposing that light curves by using 7.6, but also the R value is a presupposition as well. So you're going to presuppose a presupposed position to get this 7.6 bendy light nonsense that Ruhif thinks is really the real world, which is why he thinks that light bends. He's an idiot. But nonetheless, he puts the value in. Eye height of 1 foot, 16 miles. It's 151 feet, right? The whole thing should be gone. There shouldn't be anything visible whatsoever. Guess what happens when he puts his telescope on it? We see the whole thing, and we can see the horizon because of all the lights at street level. So these are all the shops and the street lights and whatnot, and there's the lighthouse. So yeah, sure, you can't say that it's the lighthouse for absolute certainty because it might not be the lighthouse. But hey, there's a light right above the horizon, and he's telling us it's the lighthouse, and I'm happy to accept that that is the lighthouse. And look at the distance above the horizon it actually is. It's not sat on the horizon. It's not below the horizon. We're seeing it. So then it comes back to the question, well, where's the bulge in the wall of water between us and it? And where's the curve drop that it's supposed to have? Because the drop value is relevant now because it's at sea level. There's a wall of water in front of us that's also relevant. Where is it?
You see a really good reflection across the bay as well, actually on the sea, don't you?
And that was my last point. Look at the reflection. Sorry. Look at no, you're right. You're right. Look at the line of the reflection. That can only happen if the Earth's flat. It's a mirror. Go on, Nath.
That was my kid saying bye-bye to me, and if I just ignore her...
Oh, right. I thought you said, hold on.
I thought I was on mute. My bad.
So, basically, he's got the telescope in the water about a foot off the ground. So, basically, if Soundly is true, that means Ranty's got perfect conditions, but this guy's got a lighthouse at nighttime on the horizon in the exact place that you'd expect to see it. All right, I'll give you that it might not be the lighthouse, but it's looking like it's a lighthouse. It's acting like it's a lighthouse. It's exactly where you'd expect it to be. And it doesn't support Soundly. It doesn't support anything other than the Earth appears to be flat. The action of the light in the water, there is no bulge, there is no drop. I mean, how many proofs do we need to have before these guys accept that the Earth we live on cannot be a sphere of the size they tell us it is? Because you should not see any of this light. Light doesn't bend. Light travels in straight lines. Snell's law doesn't mean light bends. Snell's law just takes you to the refractive index of air, which tells you it's practically a vacuum, and it basically doesn't bend. It's straight. So how many more proofs do we need to present to people that show that the Earth is obviously and observably flat?
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. Also, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the audience for tuning in. If you like this show, you know what to do. If you dislike this show, you know what to do. But if you did like it, maybe consider subscribing. Maybe consider sharing it. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!